Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Peeling Back the Label. Today, we are celebrating, well, actually, the whole entire month of March, we're celebrating Women History Month. And to start it off, I have Janis Daly. She's waiting to come in, and she has a special campaign going. And I wanted her to come on. I wanted her to talk about her books and also to talk to everybody about this special month. Okay, so let's get her hooked up. I'm just waiting for Janice to come on in. Sometimes it takes a little while. The internet gods like to play havoc with me. Oh, there she is. I keep on pressing go live, but it just doesn't want to work for me. It says you're unable to join. I don't know why. Sometimes it just takes a few tries. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Janice.
There we go. Is that it?
Yes, it worked. It's like we get so excited about the small things in life, like, oh, the internet actually connected us.
Oh, I know. Miracles don't always work.
Mhm. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I was just kind of telling everybody, about the celebrating Women's History Month and how you're doing a campaign with all that. Can you just before we even get started with your book, can you just tell us a little bit about that? Because this is a very exciting month for everybody, especially women.
Yes, thank you so much, Stephanie. Yeah, so March 1st kicked us off with celebrating Women's History Month, which I am just thrilled to be here again, talking about the stories of women in history that we never learned about in those history textbooks.
Mm-hmm.
And so many women's stories needed to be told. And we are fortunate today, I think, that so many other women authors are finding those stories and writing them for us,
Agreed.
particularly in the historical fiction genre, which I think reaches a larger readership, wider audience than biographies or nonfiction. So I have put together a celebration of 31 titles of women's historical fiction to read to celebrate the month. And it's truly a collaborative effort because I am happy that nearly every other author that's on my list has been participating and plans to participate in promoting the entire list. So with the idea really of literary citizenship and, lifting all boats, we can all benefit from exposure of our books as well as, more importantly, the subjects of our books to educate and inspire readers to learn about so many amazing women in history.
Absolutely. And the historical fiction, it's just more fun and spicier, and you can kind of intertwine little things in there to make the book more interesting, but yet you're still getting the gist of what really happened. You know what I'm saying? So that I love, instead of the boring,
The
this
dry facts,
yes.
and that's important, that it is historical fiction. So we are
Hmm.
writing stories that bring emotional responses in, what we imagine as authors and writers. How would our subject be feeling in that moment when she's facing an incredible obstacle or she has an incredible achievement or that maybe nobody's even heard about. So, that's the important piece. But also the history part is important as well because as authors dedicated to writing historical fiction, we do an incredible amount of research.
Oh, yeah.
And we go really deep. We go down many, many rabbit holes. We have many piles of notes or Word documents or what have you of information that never even makes it into the book. But as history nerds, we find interesting. But
Mhm.
we have to balance how much is too much. And that's why I always, suggest to folks, if you're reading historical fiction, make sure you read the author notes that are usually included at the end, because that's where you can learn what is the history and what is the fiction.
Totally,
Where the
totally agree.
yeah, where the writer took a little bit of creative
Mhm.
license just to make the story flow a little bit, or moved something by a couple of years, or just to make the story a little bit more interesting and to flow and to stay within, a 350, 400 page limit.
Absolutely. And how can people find out more about, the 31 authors?
Yeah.
Can they go onto your Instagram page and find out a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. I will be featuring on my Instagram account, Janis R. Daly Writer. Every single day, I'll have one per day. So actually, today is the 4th, so we're featuring Paula McLean's book, Circling the Sun, which is about Beryl Markham.
That's
Had a
one of my
fascinating life.
favorite books of all time.
Yeah.
I
And
just happened to
it's
pick
a
it up.
little bit older
It
title, but
is,
yeah.
but she's
So,
that woman, the main character in the story. Boy, she's a badass, and
oh,
from when she was little, and yeah, highly
yeah,
recommend for anyone to read that book if they just want to get inspired, just even a little bit. They will.
yeah.
I mean, it's an excellent book.
Adventure was the name of her game, in the 1930s, flying her own plane over the Serengeti in Africa and lots of other adventures really inspires women to, go for it,
Mhm.
seek out your own adventures and go for it. So every single day I will be featuring one individual book. I also have the list available on my website, even as a downloadable, so you can, if you're an old timer like me and you want to print it out so it's always with you when you're going to the library or going to the
Mhm.
bookstore looking for a new idea. And I don't know if we can share links later, Stephanie, but people can find the list that way.
Absolutely. Also, I'm just curious. Obviously, this month is set. Okay, you did. We have all the authors. Everybody's a go. But what happens, like, say, next year? Are you ever looking for new authors to sign up to be on this list?
Absolutely. So this is my 3rd year, and we have had, 31
Mhm.
individual new and different titles every year. But I'm on the lookout already for next year. And
Okay.
I'm taking suggestions and recommendations. I have a survey set up that people can add their recommendations. So I
Perfect.
have them all in one spot. Don't DM me and I think I'm going to add it on. It's easier to keep them all in one spot
Yes.
because it takes a while for me to go through, a
Oh,
much
yeah.
larger list and then cull down to, maybe 40 that I want to read first before they make the final cut.
Now, so you can use a repeat author, but it has to be a different book.
Different title, yes. Yes,
Gotcha.
I
Gotcha.
have,
Okay.
because we're fortunate, that we have authors like Rebecca Rosenberg, I see, is on with us today. When her book last year, Champagne Widows, was a different title. And then this year, we're back with Madame Pomeroy. So, yeah, same author is fine. Marie Benedict, Stephanie Dre, Victoria Christopher Murray, they're all repeat authors, but with different titles.
Perfect. So, speaking of inspiring women, let's talk about your 2 books now. 'Cause I did get to read The Path Beneath Her Feet. So it was the latter part of Eliza's life,
Yes.
but I love her. She is an inspiration. But I must say, Olga, she's top notch too.
Olga,
And I did the
Olga,
audiobook.
I
I
think,
love
is
your
everyone's
narrator.
favorite. Yeah, I mean, of course, I love Eliza, my main character, but Olga is that stand-up friend that we all need, to shoot us straight. She is modeled a little bit on one of my closest friends. So I jokingly even, sign cards to her and things to my dearest Olga. But
I
yeah,
love that.
we all need an Olga who's gonna, tell us when we're making a stupid move.
Yes, yes, yes. But but that's what I loved about your book. I mean, you had the history and stuff, but you inserted the little fun things too to
Yeah,
make you laugh out loud. Which is nice.
yeah, yeah. And Olga Pavinsky was in both books, is based on a real doctor, a
Oh,
real
okay.
woman, a real graduate of the Women's Medical College, which is what I go into more detail in the first book. But she came from Lithuania to study at the Women's Medical College in Pennsylvania. Couldn't speak a word of English. And she went on to get her degree, and she went into a 40-year career with the Department of Public Health in New York, working on toxins and vaccines and immunology and bacteriology. So an amazing woman that I felt like her story needed to be told, and it comes out a little
Absolutely.
bit stronger in the second book.
Absolutely. And with both books, I mean, you cover a lot of different, sexism and racism and just, I mean, so many different things. Obviously, you did your research, and it's amazing that, like, you're not a nurse, are you?
Stephanie, I had to take two science classes in college as, required credits. I don't remember how I made it through Bio 101. So,
Well, you would never know it with this book because, I mean, all the medical stuff, I'm like, I wonder if she's like a nurse or a doctor. Like, I didn't.
no, but I am incredibly fortunate that I've developed through my network resources.
Hmm.
Women doctors, women in medicine who read my manuscript before it even, touches the inbox of my publisher to make sure that the medical scenes are accurate, as well as the emotional response of a woman in
Yes.
medicine, because there's still plenty of sexism for women in medicine today.
Absolutely. We come far, but we still have a ways to go, but
Yeah,
at least they paved the way.
right. Exactly. Yeah. So I am forever grateful and indebted to the women doctors who have read my manuscripts because,
Oh.
they have an incredibly busy schedules. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? And to take their time to read a fairly new writer. I am forever indebted, and Dr. Eliza Chin is my huge advocate, and I absolutely adore her. She is the executive director of the American Medical Women's Association. And I'm actually at her invitation speaking at their national conference at the end of this month.
What an honor.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. So can we talk a little bit about like why did you decide to write the book? Who inspired Eliza in you type of thing, and
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
tell the readers a little bit about the book.
So I was never a writer, strategic business writer in my career, but not a creative writer. Never had aspirations to be an author, and it actually goes. My first inspiration came from a man who was my great great grandfather, and I was just stumbling around doing genealogy research and looking into my grandmother, paternal grandmother Robinson's family, who came from Philadelphia. I've grown up in Boston, lived in Boston my whole life, but wanted to learn about that branch of the family that we didn't have a lot of information about. And both my parents have, are deceased, my grandparents deceased. And that's where I just stumbled on one line about this great great grandfather, William Shannon Pierce, that not only was he involved in the abolitionist movement that was so strong in Philadelphia in the 1840s and 50s and 60s, but he was involved with founding the Women's Medical College of Pennsylvania in 1850.
Oh, you just gave me chills. For you to
And
find something like that is a
it
treasure.
was incredible. And I went to a women's college, Wheaton College in
Ah,
Massachusetts, at the time still all women. And I just knew immediately, wow, what these women must have gone through in the middle of the 19th century to want to
mhm,
study medicine when nearly every other school denied them admission because they were women. And so they were
mhm.
starting their own medical school, and it was mostly men, forward-thinking men,
Right. Hmm.
like my ancestor. So when I found that story and I thought about those women that wanted to go to the school, that went to the school, then I started learning more about the graduates like Olga Pabinsky, Charlotte Fairbanks, who was a surgeon during World War I said, you know what? Not only does my ancestor need to be honored for his work, but these women need to be celebrated and honored and their stories brought out of the shadows, because who knew there were women's medical colleges?
Right,
So
exactly.
I said, you know what? I think I'm going to write a book. And because I love historical fiction, I didn't want to write, a dry kind of history of the Women's Medical College. So I got into the idea of writing. I took some creative writing classes, and then I went and did a ton of research at Drexel University in Philadelphia, which is where the college eventually merged. And then they have now all the archival material. So that's where I met many of the graduates and students and read
Oh.
correspondence. So Eliza is inspired as a composite character. So she is
Mhm.
fictional, but she's inspired by all of the research I did about many of the women that attended the college and then went on to practice medicine in the early 1900s, when only less than 5% of our doctors were women.
Can you imagine? I mean, how hard she had to fight just
Yeah,
to get, just to get to where she was. I mean, because
right,
that's,
right.
you know,
You know, and
unbelievable.
just get into the school. They say that they said in the research that the entrance exam for the school was more difficult than the male schools.
Of course, of course.
And and then they get their degree and they can't find jobs
Hmm.
because no one's going to hire them. So women's medical actually opened the first hospital associated with a
Oh,
medical school, primarily to give their
amazing.
graduates jobs.
Yeah,
And it was a
amazing.
women's and infants hospital.
Amazing. Well, that is definitely an inspiring story. I mean, the path beneath her feet. I mean, I loved it. I loved your narrator, whoever that was.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
Lara Turco. She was great. She did all the accents and
Amazing.
everything.
I
Yeah,
mean, even like the men's
yeah,
voices, because I'm like,
yeah,
wait, did they just change? Is that a man?
yeah,
So I love the narrator and I loved Olga's accent.
yeah, yeah.
It's a
We love
pip.
Olga. Yeah, yeah. And Olga's character, this is just a fun little anecdote, but
Yeah.
so when I was trying to shape Olga's character, there was one little anecdote in the research about her. So she's from Lithuania, at the time that's under Imperial Russia, at the late
Yeah.
1890s. And she can't speak English. She gets here, obviously a brilliant woman. And there was a quip about her of they had just gone to one of their anatomy classes, and they were talking about Darwinism and evolution, and she goes, well, I couldn't quite understand all of it, but I thought it was a bunch of monkey business. I said, okay, now I know Olga's character.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that
She
was a
was.
lot of fun.
No, I truly enjoyed her. Obviously, I enjoyed Eliza as well because she is such an inspiring woman. And I don't know how you were able to you really did a great job doing her life in
Mm,
two books. I mean,
yeah.
that was a
Yeah,
lot of research.
my first manuscript was one book that covered all the time periods until I had the incredible good fortune to go to a writers conference and met with some editors and agents to soft pitch the book. And agent and author Paula Meunier advised me, no way can you do justice to that much history in one book, particularly as a new, debut author. So she's the one that suggested find a logical stopping point in your manuscript and set your readers up for a sequel.
Gotcha.
And so then I filled it in, a lot more for the second book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I loved it. Do you have like anything else coming on the horizon? Any new projects other than, the historical, the History Month right now?
Women's History Month 2026. Yeah. So yes, I am fortunate that my publisher, Black Rose Writing, who is an independent press out of Texas, they have contracted with me for a third book, not in the series.
Okay.
Eliza and her friends are done, but I left them in a good spot.
Yeah. And
the third book will be coming out just about a year from now, March 2026. World War I setting, female lead protagonist. World War I set in Berlin. So we're gonna see how that goes.
Interesting. Well, you did such a fabulous job with Eliza. I'm sure this next one is going to be just as good. I'm sure you're having a really great time doing all your research.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, I haven't convinced my husband a trip to Berlin is in the...
did you book anything? Are you going anywhere?
Maybe we'll see how the book sales go.
Yeah, you really need to go to Berlin.
Yeah.
I've never been there myself, but I know people that have, and it's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, definitely try to talk him into it. Everybody buy Janis's book so she could go to Berlin and write another book.
Don't worry, I'll ride coach. I don't care. That's fine. I'll get a neck pillow for the flight. But yeah.
That's so funny. What do you have anything on your night table that you're reading right now? For pleasure?
I've always got a million books on my night table or in my Kindle library or my Audible library. But two in particular, because I love to read, authors and help them out and getting the word out there about their books. So two that are on my night table and top of the list is next up is Cave of Secrets by Lynn Goldner. A little bit of a different genre for me, so I'm looking forward to that. And then one of my all-time favorite authors and people in the writing community, Martha Hall Kelly, of Lilac Girls fame and that trilogy. Her next book is coming out in May, Martha's Vineyard Beach and Book Club.
Yes, I've seen that book cover. I put that. Yes, I put that on my TBR when it comes
received
out.
An ARC. I've got an ARC from Martha, and really looking forward to it because I love her stories. And special extra connection because I live on Cape Cod, and it's set on Martha's Vineyard, which is one of the islands right off of Cape Cod. Set during the 1940s, and the U-boats that people didn't really know were patrolling right off our coast.
Wow. Well, she's definitely doing a good job getting that book cover noticed because I knew exactly what you were talking about. I've seen the book.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have my copy with me. It's probably on my Kindle NetGalley, but yeah.
It looks like a real fun book.
Yeah, and it's based loosely on her mother who grew up on Martha's Vineyard.
Oh, I love it. Oh boy, yeah. I'm sure it's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
And so is now the Cave of Secrets. What genre was that? You said it's not your normal genre.
A little bit more contemporary women's fiction. So some mysteries thrown in there too. So I'm looking forward to reading that one.
Yeah. It's nice to go out of out of your comfort zone sometimes.
Yeah. For sure.
I've had authors, recommend a book, like say, like an interview right now, and recommend me a book that I would never, even think of picking up
Right.
because it just wasn't my genre.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, she changed me.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah,
And
you
that's why I
never
love
know.
book clubs too, because, you get suggestions where you kind of have to read a book because it's the pick of the month. And, some brand new authors or titles that you've never heard of
Hmm.
before.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think it's also really great to support, for lack of better words, the smaller, lesser known
Yeah,
authors. I think that's really important to support them because just because their book isn't as popular as other ones, it doesn't mean that the material isn't good. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? The material
Yeah,
could be even better, but nobody just knows about it yet. So it's always
right.
nice to pick the smaller, the
Yeah,
smaller run books and stuff. Yeah, I totally
right.
agree. And
Yeah.
I think you do that a lot with the women's in history. I think you
Oh,
do.
absolutely. That's one of my criteria,
Mhm.
actually, is I want to make sure that I have diversity in the titles. And when I say diversity, that's a very broad net of a description because it's not just diversity in the
Mhm.
subject of the book and her cultural
Right.
background or identity and even, setting and even, her area of accomplishment. But it's also in diversity of the authors themselves. And when I think of the diversity of the authors, that is not just culturally and their identity, but type of publisher. So I do have, the big five
Yes.
traditional published authors, the Marie Benedicts of the world and the Kate Quinns and
Hmm.
all, but several independent presses like myself, Black Rose Publishing, or independent
Hmm.
self-published. There are
Hmm.
several books on the list that are self-published, and they're wonderful books, and they're very, very well written. But it's a lot harder for those of us, with the smaller presses or self-published to get the recognition because all the marketing's on us.
Right.
Our
Exactly.
time and effort and royalties getting
Hmm.
replowed back into to getting that book out there.
Agreed. Yeah. So, and I love that, you're putting, these, the independent authors with the big five, like you said. I mean, that, that's a compliment,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
any of those authors. So to be up with those with the top five, like you had said, Quinn
right,
and
right.
Hannah and all those. Yeah,
And when
absolutely.
and
And
when I
all
get
those books are good
support,
too. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong.
no, when I get support from one of those authors, I am just blown
Hmm.
away, with their kindness of paying it forward and helping, authors supporting authors. So when I get one of them, the big names, sharing my posts or, creating their own or putting the list in their newsletter or something, it just means the world to me.
Well, you deserve it because I mean, you put a lot. Like you said, you're already working on next year's, and this
Yeah.
month isn't even over yet. So,
It
you
takes a long
definitely put a
time to
lot of
read
work
40
into this.
books.
Yeah, yeah. Or more, because if you weren't too crazy
Yeah,
about it, or it just wasn't what or you have
right.
too many airplane
Yeah,
books or whatever,
right.
you have to put it to the side, unfortunately, and pick a
Yeah,
different one.
exactly.
So there might even be more than 40.
Probably. Probably.
Now, how can readers reach you, Janice, and sign up for your newsletter,
Yeah.
find out about, the Women's History Month, find out about your two beautiful books and your next one coming out? They need to sign up so they get all this
Yeah.
news.
Yes, absolutely. So I have a newsletter I put out every month, and you can sign up right on my website. There's always a pop-up that comes up if you don't see the little sign up button in the top corner. And the website is just Janis, and that's JANIS R Daly, DALY.com. So Janice R. Daly, just the different spellings of Janice and Daly.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. Can you
Oh,
show your book covers one more time so
oh,
everyone could
of course.
see, just to make sure that they know? Beautiful.
That's the second one, Path Beneath Their Feet, and then the Unlocked Path is the
Yes.
debut. Yeah.
Love it.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it,
Oh,
Janis. And we'll
thank
be
you,
celebrating
Stephanie.
all month. All month we're going to be celebrating
Every
all
month,
these.
yeah. Follow
Yes.
me on Instagram, and you'll see the. You can go back on my posts, and then stay looking for each individual title for the rest of the month.
Yep. And then everyone can also go on to your website to download the whole list so they could take it to the library or store. Perfect.
And
I love
take
that.
my survey. There's a survey link on there too, which will tell me which books you've
Oh, for
read,
the
which books
readers.
you're
Okay.
adding to your list, and a chance to enter to win a
Oh.
copy of one of the books,
Oh.
because all the authors have graciously given me a paperback copy of their books that we're giving away.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So there's 31 chances to win. So
Yes.
I highly suggest everybody filling out that survey because you have, 31 chances to win a book.
Yeah.
That's better than just one, you know?
And there's even a bonus entry.
Oh, okay.
So just check out the survey. Yeah, we can share that link as well.
Sounds perfect. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Janis. I appreciate you
Stephanie. Thank
coming
you all
on.
for tuning in.
Oh, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.